Hello guys, so the first thing I'm going to do is apologise for the quality of the video. I've had to do this on my camera phone, so it's not going to be as good as it could be. Right, the reason I'm making this video is my New Year's resolution of being brave means trying new things out that I've not done before. I did this the other day, posted it on Facebook. I'm happy with the result, but that's a typical Bob Ross happy accident. So I'm going to be stripping this anyway, which is why I can use this as a demonstration. But I used warcolours paints with this. Warcolours are, I mean, this is an ink, but warcolours they're nice paints, but they're very thick, but they're very gel and they're very translucent. That in itself is good and bad. Because they're translucent, it means you can get some really nice, as you see there, I've got some really nice blends going, but because they're translucent, they're a little bit more difficult to work with. If I show you this is supposed to be a fire effect. You can't see it that close because of the camera, but to be honest with you, it's not much better if I could get a clear picture. So the problem with them being gel, translucent, is that you need many coats to build the colour up. Now someone asked me how do I airbrush with watercolours, because they've had problems with it in the past. So in this video I'm going to show you how I do it. Different people might do it different ways. But as I say, this is how I do it. I've had results with this. If someone wants to show me a better way, that's fine. So I'm going to demonstrate the first problem we've got. And what I found is that when you apply watercolours to anything, I'm going to demonstrate on a plastic spoon that's not been primed. Now obviously you're going to be applying watercolours over either primer or paint, but the same result will happen. The reason I'm going to use a blue is the colour difference between what I'm applying it to is quite sharp, so it's not going to be as subtle, but it shows off the translucency really well. So I'm going to just pop just a single drop on there, and hopefully, if I can get the angle right, do you know what, that's really the bad way to do it, wasn't it? Sorry, I didn't plan this well enough. Right, so I'm going to pop a single drop on there, and you can easily see the thickness of it. It sits upright, so you can see how thick it is. Now, obviously, if you put that straight through an airbrush, you're going to have problems. The next problem we've got is, whoops. These do require an awful lot of shaking, even though you wouldn't think it. They don't separate, but they still need a good shake. So what I'm going to do here, so I've still got my brush from the last. I did this video earlier, and it abruptly cut itself off at the end. This is the result I got. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to use ordinary water for this. Because it demonstrates really well. Right, and I'm going to put a couple of good drops in there, and I'm going to mix it round. And then what you're going to see there, this paint split. Split, is that the right word for it? I don't know if you can see. I'm trying to get the right angle. Right, it really, I don't know if you can see at the top, but it really, it comes away wherever you put it. It comes away. So it's really, really, really important that you use a flow improver. I don't know the science between flow with flow improvers, but just tip a little bit that way. But you can see now it goes wherever you put it, and that's the flow improver. So it's the flow improver that makes a difference. So if you're having problems with an airbrush with watercolours and you haven't been putting flow improver in, that's your first stage. That's obviously your main reason it's gone wrong. So the equipment I use is, obviously you need the paint. I don't know if I've done this the right way around. Yeah, no, I haven't. Right. Sorry, I have a habit of taking lids off and then I muddle the lids up. Right. Now, you can mix watercolours with ordinary water and that works fine. You see there I've got a little bottle of water. I always, things that I want small amounts of, I always put into little bottles. But what I find I subscribe to Acid Drop and they sent me this. As you see, it's well used. This is distilled water and I find distilled water works better. So you want distilled water, and this is my flow improver, but I find it quite difficult to handle, so I pop it into a smaller bottle. And what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a single drop of distilled water into the airbrush. And what that's going to do is get the water down into the nozzle. I find that there's a certain amount of paint you can't, the paint in the nozzle you can't mix. So if you've got paint gone down into the nozzle, your first spray it's just going to be pure paint. So I just pop a little bit of water in there just to, so then you've got to remember your first spray is just going to be water. I don't know if that's standard procedure or not. Now, next thing you do is you pop in your paint, and I'm going to pop in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go 8. Let's go 10. 10. Right. So we've got 10 drops of paint in there. Now, what I'm going to do, the ratio. Now, because of the thickness of the nozzle of that, 1 drop of that is going to be more than 1 drop of this, which has got a smaller nozzle. But that works well. And I want 1 drop of distilled water for every drop of paint I've put in. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then on top, I want 1 drop of flow improver for every 10 drops of water, or part of. Now what I mean by that is if you've put in 10 drops of paint, now I can't really get that in there, but that's still quite a thick mix. If you want to put more water in, you can. In fact, yeah, I'm going to just pop a little bit more, but that's your guideline. So I'm going to put 5. Now, because I've put another 5 drops of water in, I'm going to put 1 drop of flow improver. So it's, if you've put 10 drops of water in, that's 1 drop of flow improver. You've put 5 drops of water in, that's 1 drop of flow improver. You put 1 drop of water in, there you go, that's a little bit better. It's still a little bit thicker than milk, but I find that works okay. So yeah, getting back to the flow improver, if you put 11 drops of water in, you're going to put 2 drops of flow improver. It's technically too much flow improver, but it works for me. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to shoot the water out just until I get a little bit of blue. And that's so now I've got that loaded up with paint. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give it a light spray. Obviously if you're doing small detail you can come in close. Let me show you here. So I'm going to do a little light, but you know, it's just showing you can do close detail work. So because I'm doing a base coat, I'm just going to give it a light spray. I'm finding out with a piece of paper just where how far back on the trigger I need to pull before I get any paint out. So there we go, light spray. Now what you're going to notice is on the first pass, it's hardly going to make any difference at all. It's not a problem. Now as you see, I mean on the light areas you can see that it's made a slight difference. That is going to be your first layer. These paints are very, very translucent, and by watering them down you've made them even more translucent. So patience is the name of the game here. So then we're going to build a second coat up. Little bit of air, little bit of paint, yeah, and then you can see that it's starting to build up a bit more. I'm going to focus more on the top now, just to save on the paint. But now we're on the third layer. Starting to get a bit wet now, so we're just applying more air just to dry it off a little bit. So a little bit more paint, starting to look at the areas that we've missed. Obviously if you had a flat area you wouldn't be missing quite so much, and obviously you wouldn't be building a blue up over a brown, you'd sort of graduate the colours. Now you're going to start to get wet now, because the there's a certain curing time. So what you're now starting to do is you get something like Vallejo, you're going to be drying the colours off. These don't dry properly for ages. So what you're effectively doing is applying paint onto damp paint. You see how you really have to be patient. So now the colours, there's about 6 layers on there, and already, you know, we've got the colour from underneath, and I think that's what they're designed to do. You know, you're building those colours gently. So you can see we're really starting to about 7 layers. We're starting to get really solid colour, but you can still see the colour underneath. That's having a major influence on the shade, which is a really good thing. I mean, what you would naturally do is, if you were doing a blue, you wouldn't be building the blue up over a brown or purple. You'd be building it up from a dark blue, and then you'd be highlighting. You can just as easily go down colours. Start off with the brightest blue and work down. So there we go. So given that I've you know, the colour that I've painted that over, that's a fairly solid blue. Oops. And then what I would be looking at doing is just do a little bit of quality control. I mean, for a demonstration model, I've picked a really bad one. If this was a cloak, or even better, a flat surface, you know, obviously it'd be a lot easier. So I've got a little bit of paint left. Also the key is, every now and again, if you've used it for more than a few minutes, just top the water up a little bit. I've popped another drop in there. The reason being is that these, when these dry, because they're gel based, they don't go solid in the same way that paints do. They kind of go jelly and they thicken up. However, because I've thinned it down a bit more, it's going to be even more translucent. So I've got some paint left, so I'm going to do the other side. So there we go. Look, one layer, hardly any difference, just a shade difference. So air just to dry it off a bit, more paint. There we go, colour just beginning to show. Colour coming through. Just drying it off a bit now. No paint at all on this. And don't forget, these do go darker, just like normal paints. There we go, a little bit darker. As you see, it's starting to reach, it's starting to be a blue now. It's no longer a shade, it's a colour. There you go, it's beginning to build up now. Just drying it off a bit, don't really want to go wet on wet. I've actually popped this one on a little bit too thick. It's not a problem if it goes on slightly too thick. You won't lose any detail. I don't know if you can see the detail on there. Obviously when you paint one base colour, it tends to not show, the detail doesn't pop so much. Not until you put shades and highlights on. But there you go. I'm getting low on paint now, so so there you go. So this is how I do watercolours. Do it again on there. See, look, I've put it really thick on that one, but it's not really made a lot of difference. All it's just made is a big puddle. So you don't want to be thick. No, don't want to go thick. Just want to go nice, very gentle. I mean, I'll get away with that thick puddle, but just by keeping the layers thin. See, it's hardly made any difference if I go down to here. It's just a little shade. You're just building the colours up. Paints are a little bit too thin, if anything. Always better to go too thin than too thick. I think we all know that one. And we just build the colours up gently. What I'll do is, in a later video, when I repaint these, when I get the setup done properly, I'll do a little video. I mean, I'll say the reason I was stripping these I've not used these colours before. What I was actually using was I was using some browns, and the colours go from 5 to 1, and I thought, oh, 4 will be a little bit lighter than 5, 3 will be lighter than 4, but it'll be just the same amount of brightness lighter than 4 to 5, and then so on and so forth. But on that particular colour, it didn't really start to go bright till about 2 or 1. So as you saw, what I had was dark light. So what I want to do is, I want to do it dark again, but I want to start the light shades a lot lower. In case you're wondering, if you didn't know, this is actually the wing of Archaon. So there we go. Look, I'm just gonna. What I should have done actually is done the whole lot in one, and then done all bar 1. That would have been really good, wouldn't it? And just show you the difference with each section. So there's 7 sections there. I could have done that in 7 stages. Never mind. So you see, it's all about building up the layers gently. I watched a video about it was that plastic model aircraft painting, and they were using, right, that's run out now, so I'm going to give that a clean out. One other important thing is, because of the way the paint is, it's really important to get that cleaned out straight away. It doesn't, like I say, it doesn't dry hard in the same way that paint does. It dries to like a jelly. And what you tend to find, if you're doing a lot of airbrushing, let's see if I can turn this round now. Yeah, I tend to find if you do a lot of airbrushing, you know how you drink a cup of coffee, especially if you drink it black, and you have the occasional mouthful, and what you tend to get is you get rings around the cup, and you can kind of see your progression through the cup. There you go. Like you see in my cup, you've got rings from where I had a mouthful, then another mouthful, then another mouthful, all the way to the bottom. And you find you get that with the airbrush. You'll get, in this case it's blue, but you'll get a blue ring, and then you'll get another blue ring lower down, and then if you then just chuck some paint in and try to mix it, that ring, it's like a little rubber ring it forms, and then you'll try to mix that ring in, and the water won't dilute it, and then all of a sudden you're trying to shoot this rubbery bit of paint through the nozzle, and all you're going to do is get blockage. So that's it, guys. You know, the problem we've got with this, it's a relatively new paint. A lot of people haven't heard of it. If you were fortunate enough with this month's acid drop, you'll have got some war paints, and what I would suggest with war paints is that you experiment with them. I actually have better results airbrushing than I do brushing with a brush, but which is a shame, because you do need to paint with a brush with them. So yeah, there you go, guys. So I'll have a quick recap. This is let's see if I can get some better light. So there you go. So you can get some nice effects. Because you can see it's taken about 7 good layers to build the colour up gently. It's all about building it gently. Like I said, the video I watched about the guy with the Vallejo, he's getting a good coverage for one layer. 2 layers is a very good coverage. And to be honest with you, you could probably have left it at 2 layers. And if you're looking to really give it a solid base coat, you're looking at 3, maybe 4 layers. You can see that this, you need seven good layers. But obviously we're talking to the stage where you want to hide the base coat. If you're zenithal highlighting, because you're putting gentle layers on, it's really going to show that zenithal highlighting off. However, I would be careful. If you're going to do a really bright white on the top of the model, the watercolours are going to pick that up. So yeah, so guys, that's how I do airbrushing watercolours. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.